Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, or good morning. I guess depends on what part of the country you're from. Thank you all for joining us here today. Excited to spend the next hour with you going over the Synoptek team's voice solution. With Synoptek and our friends at Microsoft, we've prepared an agenda for you all to review. My name is Greg Walker. I am the practice director of a group within Synoptek that we call our real-time communications division. I'm start off some introductions. Sydney?
Hi everyone, my name is Sydney Huggins. I'm the RTC Operations Manager within Synoptek.
Greetings, everyone. I would like to start with a big thank you for your time for attending the Synoptek's Modernize communication session. This is Manish Dhall from Microsoft Partner Management Team. We work with partners in this case, Synoptek, help in building business priorities, aligning tech strategies, and building deep technical capabilities. Think this strategic partnership as a three-legged stool approach. Today with us, we have Rex Thompson, who helps Synoptek building the business priorities. And I'm responsible for aligning technical strategies, which is built by Rex and Synoptek team. Uh, and we have Scott Rendell helps in building deep tech capabilities for Synoptek team. We are a V team in launching, and driving businesses for Synoptek solution practices. And here we are together to launch Synoptek real-time communication solution offer, which is built in a close collaboration with Synoptek and Microsoft teams. RTC will help modernize customer communications. Without taking any more time, I'll pass the floor to my Microsoft team friend, Scott Rendell.
Thanks, Manish. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. I support Synoptek as well as other partners from a technical sense when it comes to Teams and telephony. Happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Tuan, we need your audio.
Hello, my name is Tuan Lei. I manage strategic alliances at Synoptek. And I'd like to thank you again, Microsoft, for joining us and thanking you for joining us on this joint webinar. What I'd like to start off with is an evolution of communication systems. As we see over the last few years, the importance and challenges of customer and employee communications, leading business to ask, how do we engage our communication strategy? How can we improve our customer employment engagement? There are multiple touch points in a modern communication journey. It could start off with the front desk phone when a customer comes in and visits our offices for the first time as it opens up. It could be the website where they contact us via a phone number, or email. All that impacts our business goals of providing brand. How can we ensure the best customer experience on the first contact? I've experienced this personally just a couple of weeks ago where they reached out to us via our contact us online, where we were able to answer the customer's response within that same week. And that's all via a common uniform platform. This is also looking at safety. How are we able to contact our employees and customers when a situation occurs? An example could be universities where they have emergency blue phones to help those who are in crisis. It could be mobile E911 where situations such as a building lockdown that might occur. It could be elevator phones that occur at universities and hospitals where you have to be able to have communications in case someone is locked in. And then there is SMS texting, again, for COVID check-ins or situations where someone needs help. How can you provide all of that in one common platform to ensure safety within the business? And as you move along through the value cycle, there is the area of workforce productivity. Everyone has Office 365. How can we further extend the capabilities of Office 365 to include collaboration and clear voice and network communications for those who work from home, the office, and remote locations, including international? Further extending the value chain there is how do you provide a customer experience to areas like the call center when people come in via the phone, it could be the internet, it could be mobile phones, multiple sources. How can you provide a way to track that so that the team within your company can answer calls from the sales team, the fields of services, and customer support, providing that seamless single assistant pane of glass. Then once you explore the customer experiences and provide that, you have now all the information within your CRM, which includes like Dynamics. So providing a common fabric where Teams, Dynamics, and Contact Center providing a customer 360 view of the customer. So every touch point, from the moment they visit our front desk to emergency situations to support, you have a full view of the customer to provide them support as well as marketing automation. To achieve all of this, you have to have the right solution and the right partner to personalize your modern communications along that journey. And we believe that Microsoft Teams plus Microsoft Synoptek plus Synoptek's real-time communication provides that flexibility and comprehensive solution in that journey.
Thanks, Tuan. I think you lay out a great story there to build on for Microsoft Teams. And over the past few years and, the way things have been globally, we've seen such a huge uptake in the use of UCaaS scenarios and UCaaS products. And certainly Teams is no stranger to that. As a matter of fact, Gartner, as you can see in the Gartner quadrant, puts us up at the top. It might be a little hard to see, but the red arrow, of course. And that's an amazing story. It really is. And it's got such a broad breadth of feature sets within the UCaaS space. And I think that's wonderful. Early on, in the early days of Teams, I had the opportunity to speak with a customer that was piloting a program of sending their people home and using Teams in this sort of hybrid work, even before hybrid was a thing. And so I asked him, I said, well, how is that going? And I was thinking they were probably going to say something like, oh, we find that people are goofing off. They're not as productive. And actually it was just the opposite. They said they had a marked 20% increase in productivity. And I was like, wow, that's incredible. And I said, what do you attribute that to? And oddly enough, they said not having a break room. So, and then it dawned on me, it clicks in your head. Right. When we go to the office, what do? We'll be sitting at our desk working, we go to the break room and we might talk for 10 or 15 minutes. Well, in this hybrid work from home kind of world, we don't really have that so much anymore. Teams allows us to be chatty and collaborative, but you don't have that whole break room thing. So it actually increases productivity. And the interesting thing is Forrester actually found that out after the fact. So they did their total economic impact study and they found out very similar. Maybe the numbers don't line up exactly, but they also found that this hybrid work and using a solid UCaaS solution such as Teams actually can save you money and make you more productive. And I think it's a great story that Synoptek has to tell you. And here to tell that story is my friend, Greg Walker. Over to you, Greg.
Scott. Okay. So Synoptek, why Synoptek in terms of Teams? I think, I'll start by maybe describing why Teams. I think that's probably the more obvious answer in today's world. To think just over 2.5 years ago, we were getting into calls with customers and spending a good part of that time trying to describe why you should be using Teams just as a product in its own. We all know what's happened over the past 2 years in the adoption of Teams, the fastest growing application in business history. So why Teams as your UCaaS product is sort of the same answer. If you're an O365 environment, you've invested in in Teams, you're collaborating within Teams. If we're able to demonstrate a increased feature functionality within the Teams UCaaS product, deliver it for less money, the answer is obvious. Why? It's more like why not? Everything that you're going to see here today is achieved advanced specialization with Microsoft. In order to achieve advanced specialization with Microsoft, you need to be a certain type of Microsoft partner. Tier 1 Microsoft partner essentially means that our Microsoft practice is substantial enough to warrant having a managed relationship by Microsoft. That's why we have Microsoft people here on the call. So why Synoptek? So if Teams is the solution for the UCaaS, why would Synoptek be the choice for this? I think it comes down to really 3 primary reasons. First is being a managed service provider with teams, much different than the traditional telephony environments. In order to build this, your traditional PBX is a system in of itself. Security around it is not as critical as it is your IT systems. In order to build, deploy, configure these solutions appropriately, it implies a level of access into your IT environment that most companies aren't comfortable giving to a phone company. The obvious choice for that is a managed service provider. Second reason is all these applications still need to land on a carrier grade network. So those two things are usually a disconnect. Most managed service providers, IT companies are not phone companies, and phone companies are not IT companies. Synoptek is, if not the only, certainly the largest managed service provider in the world that has purpose-built a carrier-grade network specifically for the delivery of Teams telephony as a solution. You kind of combine these two things together, it really puts Synoptek as this unique company to implement the solution appropriately within your environment. And we've demonstrated that over the past 2 years. We have over 70 successful implementations. We tend to operate in the mid-market, so 250 to sort of 4,000 users is where we would support that service. We 100% proof of concept advancement. So, standard in our approach is a proof of concept and delivering the solution, which then just leads to a deployment. And it's been highly successful over the past couple of years here. Okay, so if you've decided that you're going to put in the Teams solution to consume it, there is the first two things that are required. So you need to license it. If you're E5, that license, the phone system license is inclusive in that. If not, it's an add-on license through Microsoft, and then you need to make a decision on the carrier connection. So how are you going to consume the publicly switched telephone network, emergency services, direct phone numbers, toll-free. Once those two things have been determined, you then need to find the right integrator. Then there's a variety of things that Synoptek does to augment the Teams solution, and things that Sydney will show you today in the demonstration. This first group of three primary, most consumed enhancements that we deploy are based around first user analytics. So, as your workforce works more and more in Teams, you're in this same single pane of productivity. The metrics that you want to measure them on all live within, the Teams administrative tenant. Challenge is getting at that data in a usable way and extending it down into your workforce. We build dashboards. Those dashboards can report on all the different activities within Teams. So this is beyond just the PSTN type activities. Example might be a sales team, sales leader would want to see how much time people are spending or their sales reps are spending on calls like this. How much time are they actually the presenter, and sort of certain analytics for certain groups that make most sense. Q analytics within the team phone system license itself. It has all the typical non-omni-channel or CRM integration contact center capabilities that you would expect. You can queue up to 200 calls. 200 users, callers at any given time. Distribute those calls as you would expect. But again, you need generally some ability to see what's happening real time. So we've got a real-time queue analytic product. You can see how many calls are in queue, what the agent status is, add agents to it, report on it, schedule reports out to it. Call recording. We all know that you can record within Teams. We do it all the time. A lot of companies have an all the time recording compliance requirement. So we built it. All of these applications sit secure in your Azure tenant. We then get into further enhancements. A lot of these will be driven through customer engagements. Teams, and then Teams, UC is so new. There's not a lot of add-ins that you can go out and get to the market. So what we do is we continuously will identify something a customer has asked for, evaluate it. If it makes sense, we'll go out and build it, deploy it, and extend it into as part of our feature functionality set. First is recently we've gone to phase 2 on our SMS, very robust SMS product. It is in-app experience connected to the user DID. We built that through a key client of ours that's in the mental health services business. They're doing sort of 600 agents that are engaging patients and interacting with them. They need to collaborate, bring in supervisors. Obviously, that needs to be secure. We can escalate the SMS to an MMS multi-party, again, up in the customer's Azure tenant. This broadcast notifications, kind of cool. We had a client that had a need for wellness checks. So during COVID, you can initiate this. It's a multicast notification, but you can actually begin to get some feedback. So, did you get your COVID test? Yes. Can you upload your COVID test? So, another sort of customer-driven development that we did. Then as you move into any type of CRM integration, Microsoft Teams has a very tight integration with Five9. Five9 is one of, if not the largest cloud contact center product in the marketplace. So the two products interact together, presence between the two, and that's where we begin to build advanced CRM integrations with things like Dynamics, Salesforce. Okay. Kind of sample logo here. I think the point is you can see there is no particular vertical. Our target customers, if you're Office 365 and use Teams, this is a product that's likely going to be on your radar. You can see here, these are all, I guess within the past 2 years, logos that we've onboarded with Teams, but manufacturing, entertainment, nonprofit, engineering. So, every sort of different kind of vertical that you can imagine consumes it. Okay. I'm going to pass this to Sydney, who is going to demonstrate all the cool functionality that we were talking about.
Thanks, Greg. Hi, everyone. I'll be demonstrating how Microsoft Teams works as a phone system. I'll start off by showing you that Teams user experience, and then I'll go into our enhanced services such as SMS texting, user analytics, real-time queue analytics, and call recording. So I'll share my screen here. All right. And now you should see my Teams desktop application right here. So I'll focus on the telephony elements of Teams, but it's so much more than a phone system. It's this wonderful collaboration tool. Microsoft has created this single pane of glass experience, and what they're trying to do is keep the worker within Teams for as much as possible throughout their day. You're able to talk to your team with your internal chat here. You can collaborate in Teams sites centered around different subjects where you can share files, collaborate in documents in real time. Of course, you have your calendar, and that links to your Outlook. So you're right within the ecosystem of Office 365. Everything's linked together. But we'll focus here on the Calls tab. Now, internally to call, you don't need any extensions anymore. So it makes it super simple for your users to call internally. You just need to know the person's name that you want to reach. But then adding in the ability to make and receive calls outside your organization just makes so much sense. You're already in Teams. Now, why would you jump out and go into a different system to talk to your clients? So it becomes this one tool for all of your communication. And the login is very simple for your users. It enables them to access their voicemail. For example, you don't need a voicemail PIN anymore to access your voicemail. You're already authenticated when you sign into Teams. So here in my Calls tab, you'll notice I have a dial pad, and this allows me to make a call to anyone outside my organization, even if they're not a Teams member. All I do is just type in the number here, or I can click the numbers here on the dial pad. This will connect me to that public switch telephone network, or a PSTN as it's called. Each user is going to get their own direct inward dial number, and that shows up right here on the bottom of the dial pad. So as a user, the first thing they would do is set up Teams to work for their particular work style and calling preferences. And they make it so easy. It's right here in settings. The first feature I'll point out is a delegation feature. And this might work for you. Maybe you're an executive that wants to give your assistant the ability to make and receive calls on your behalf. You can add them as a delegate and give them certain permissions here. to make calls or receive calls or both. And then you'll see if anyone's added you as a delegate, that'll show up here. And your delegates create a shared line appearance. So any of these people, if they were in our demo environment right now and on a call, I can see their presence. I could see they're on a call with someone, and I could see the count of the call here. But the majority of your user settings are in the Calls tab, and that's where your user is going to tell Teams how they want their direct calls to be routed. They have lots of options here. They can have the calls ring them and simultaneously, maybe they want it to have it ring to another number. They could have it ring to anyone within their environment, maybe their delegate or no one else. And then what happens if it's unanswered? Maybe then they want to roll over to their voicemail, or maybe at that point they'd like to have it roll over to their delegates, or even a call group. And a call group is something that any individual user can create. It's just within their own sphere of influence. Let's say they're a sales agent and they want to put 3 other salespeople into a call group that could answer their calls on their behalf. I might want to pop these 3 people into the call group, and I could try them in the order above. Maybe Clark's the most senior and I'll try him first. Or maybe I just want to try them all at the same time to see who can answer the quickest. And then from there, you can set up your voicemail greeting. There's 2 ways to set up your voicemail greeting. You can either record your own voice here by clicking this button, or you can use this text-to-speech option, which I really enjoy. All you have to do is just type out what you want the greeting to say, and text-to-speech will read it out loud for you. And you'll have a separate one when you're going out of the office. And since it's all linked to Outlook, you can click these 2 boxes, and when you have that Outlook auto reply on, it will automatically play your out of office greeting. Or maybe you like to use those out of office calendar events, you can have it linked to that as well. And if your user is what we call an agent sitting behind a call queue, they'll see those call queues show up here. So today I'm Lois Lane, and she's part of all of these queues. And you'll notice I'm able to toggle in and out of taking calls on all of these except for the second one, sales. That one I will always receive calls for. And that's simply something that's been set up in the admin center. That's a back-end thing that you set up when you're creating these call queues. It's entirely up to you as an organization if you want to give your agents that ability to opt in and out. And once the users set up those things, they're ready to start making and receiving calls. They'll see their history of their calls here. And as I mentioned before, their voicemail is right here. It's called visual voicemail, so I don't have to listen in any particular order. I can just click right in, see the transcription on the right-hand side, listen to the audio. Maybe I determine this is spam and I want to block them. I can easily block the number right here and I won't receive a call again from that number. Or maybe I want to call them right back. It's really as simple as that. Or if I want to add them to speed dial, I can do that. And they'll also receive voicemail via email. So you'll get an email. And if you're using the Teams mobile app, which I highly recommend, you're going to get your voicemail there in the mobile app as well. And as Greg described, you can use Teams as a light contact center. So with Teams phone system, you can create auto attendants that flow into call queues. Your auto attendant helps direct callers to the department or person they're trying to reach. Let's say someone calls your 800 number and they hear the auto attendant that greets them with, "Thank you for calling ABC Company. For sales, press 1. For billing, press 2. Directory, press 3, etc." And you can use Microsoft's text-to-speech for that as well. Or if you'd rather use a voice talent, you can have them record it and upload that audio file right in there for the greeting. And he also mentioned you can have call queues. You can have an unlimited number of call queues with different groups of agents behind them. Let's say someone pressed sales, they press 1, and that goes to your sales queue. Each queue can hold up to 200 calls waiting at one time. And you can pick from a variety of call routing methods. There's attendant routing, and that's where the first call will ring all of the agents at the same time. Or serial routing, and that's where the calls will ring agents one by one, starting from the top of a call agent list. Or round robin, and that's used so each agent will get about the same number of calls. It'll even it out. And finally, there's longest idle. So that's when the call is going to ring the agent that's been sitting in the available green checkmark state for the longest amount of time. And you can preset your business hours and your holiday hours ahead of time and tell teams how you want the calls to be routed during those times. And Synoptek will set all of this up for you during onboarding. We have white glove onboarding approach, so we work hand in hand with you to set it up exactly how it will work best for your organization. And we also train both your admins and your end users until they feel completely comfortable with the system. All right, so now I'm going to call myself. I'll call Lois here from my personal cell phone number. And then you'll see it ring on my desktop app right here. I could choose to answer or decline and send it to voicemail, but I will answer. So here I am in the call. I have my keypad here. Maybe it was an outgoing call and I needed to press 1 for sales. I have that here. I can see the participants in the call. I could put this caller on hold. Also, I'd see my call health. Let's say I'm having some issues with the call. Maybe I want to diagnose in real time and see if there's any thing I can see on the health there. Maybe I want to transfer this call over to someone. And I'm able to transfer this call anywhere internally. Again, I just need to know that colleague's name to transfer it, or externally, I could type in any number here. But for this purpose, I'm going to choose my colleague, Nate. If I click transfer, it's going to connect over to Nate. But I have some options. Maybe he's out of the office and I don't want to make the caller wait through all the rings. I'll just transfer them straight to his voicemail. Or maybe I know he's on the road, but still able to take calls. I might want to transfer it over to his cell phone number or maybe another work number. Anything that's configured for that user in the Azure Active Directory will show up right here. Then I can choose to ring it back to me if Nate doesn't answer. So I really like that feature. If it's an urgent call, I want to make sure it's handled right away. There's also another type of transfer. So this adds a step, and this is a consult step. So in this case, I want to talk to Nate first and give him a little bit of context on the call he's about to receive. So it's more of a warm transfer, you may also know it as. And now when I select Nate, it's defaulting to chat. But you might be thinking, maybe I don't want to type out the whole situation of the call here. I just want to talk to him. I can do that as well. So if I click audio call, I'll be able to talk to Nate, give him the context, and then transfer the call from there. But I'll show you the chat feature here. That pops out into a separate window. You can see here, I can give him a little bit of context, say, hey, can I transfer Mary over to you? Depending on his answer, now I have the transfer button embedded in that chat window. So I can click transfer right there or have the other options that I showed earlier. But I won't transfer the call here. There's some other features that I want to point out. I could also park this call. So a parked call is essentially a community hold, and it's completely up to you if you want to enable it for your environment. So the use case would be for that is, let's say I'm a receptionist and I pick up a call and the caller has a question on one of my products. I'm really not sure how to answer. So I know I need to get this transferred over to someone, but I'm not sure who's available or who has the expertise. I'm going to park that call. So I'll park it here. And then I'm going to get a code that I can share. I don't even have to remember it. I could actually just copy the code right here. Shared code is 13, so I'll copy that. I can X out of that call now. So now it's kind of like in a parking lot. Anyone can access this call if they have that code. I could hop into my chat and say, hey, sales team, this caller has a question on XYZ. Can anyone pick up the call on Park 13? And then that salesperson can simply go to their parked call button, put in the code, and then pick up the call from there. And it doesn't get lost in the ether. If nobody does choose to pick it up, it boomerangs right back to that first person that parked it within 5 minutes. And then lastly, let's say I want to patch somebody into this call. Instead of transferring it over, I want to add Nate into the call. I can easily do that just by adding him as a participant. And it's a demo environment, so he won't join. But that's completely fine. Just by attempting to add a third person, it's elevated the one-on-one call to a Teams meeting. So now if you're using Teams meetings today, a lot of these features are going to be very familiar to you. Now you'll get chat, let's say Nate is my boss and he had joined, he could be giving me some coaching here on the side to help me deal with this call. And Sydney, she's on her cell phone. She won't see that interaction. You could add up to a total of 250 participants. So maybe if you had that many people, these reactions might start to become important. At this point, I can turn on live captioning as well, recording, and transcription. And just the difference between live captioning and transcription is that transcription will save into a file, as well as recording. Both of those will save into files that you can share outside of your organization as well after the call. So I'm going to leave that call. So everything I've shown you so far are Microsoft functionalities. Those are things that you're going to get once you get the phone system add-on license. So now I'm going to move into our Synoptek differentiators. So these are things that we have built to enhance Teams. The first being our proprietary app for texting. So here's the text app. And Synoptek has developed this app to keep up with today's communication styles. So your customers might want to interact with your company via text, or you might want to reach out to them with special marketing offers, maybe with a broadcast text. So now you can text them using your business phone number. It's going to be that same DID that was under the dial pad in the calls tab. There's a simple SMS version, which is a one-to-one text. There's also MMS, which allows you to send files, pictures, videos. You can also create group chats of up to 10 participants. As Greg mentioned, one of our clients is using this for crisis counseling. So those patients, they might be going through a mental health crisis, and they may feel more comfortable texting than talking on the phone or emailing. So this could be used to create a much more personal relationship with your clients. Another enhancement we have are these analytics tools. So there's three pieces to these Teams analytics. There's user analytics, real-time queue analytics, and call recording. And this is a polished reporting tool that allows you to build dashboards based on the metrics that you want to see. This one here, for example, is just one that I've created. In this case, I'm a supervisor. I want to check on my team and see if they're meeting certain KPIs here as far as call handling, duration of calls. I can see my inbound summary of calls here. All of these can be popped out, filtered, or saved. And you can see all of this without needing to be a Teams administrator. So as Greg mentioned, right now you can get all of this information in the Teams Admin Center, but you have to have that access. And here's another dashboard that I've created. So in this example, I'm responsible for this support queue, and I want to see the statistics since August 1st until the 15th of how the call answering has been going, where my calls are coming from, if I have any missed calls, my answered percentages. And these can be all filtered depending on the queue you're looking at. You can look at a certain auto attendant or even just one single employee. For example, I have an employee summary here. If I just want to take a look at one employee at a time, I can see all of their activity in a certain time frame, all the calls they had, all the conferences they organized, all the conferences they attended, and then a chart here of the volume of those interactions. And all these in blue are hyperlinks. So if I wanted to get really detailed, granular information on a certain call, I can click right in there and see that. There's also a robust reporting feature in this tool. So you're able to create your own from scratch, or you can use their ready-made reports. And what's great is you can actually schedule these reports to run. So you just set them once, schedule them to run on any frequency you desire, in any format you desire. And here's an example of one of those reports. This is our top employees, all their calls, and the duration. And the next piece of this is the real-time statistics. And this is taking it straight from your Teams tenant. These 5 tiles right here are refreshing at a rate of 7 seconds. So if I'm a supervisor of my contact center, I can see right now I have 3 active calls. I've got 14 agents logged on, and 7 of those agents are marked as available. I can see live presence here. All of these I've filtered depending on what I need to see. I can see how many calls are waiting in queue right now. And then the two bottom ones here are a total of the day so far. So I've got 6 missed calls and 85% answered. And you'll notice the green and red faces here. Those are thresholds that I can add just depending on your business. So what you consider good or bad here. So you can at a glance see how you're performing. And this is something that would be wonderful. You could throw it up on a wallboard screen if you do have a physical call center. So everyone can hold each other accountable for those KPIs by just looking up at the wallboard. And the third and final piece is called call recording. So this, as Greg mentioned, is mainly for compliance needs. It's going to capture all of your team's voice interactions for the employees that you identify when you're setting it up. So it records their internal, their external, all of their team's conference calls. And you can set different role-based permissions. So example, you might want to give a supervisor a login for this, but then only give them permission to see their own team's recordings. You'll see a list of all the recordings here. You'll be able to play them, see the overview of the start time, the end time, the duration, the participants. You could even categorize them if you're looking through here and want to identify the subject of the call. The other piece of this is active calls. So this would be great for a training manager. Maybe sign in here. So a training manager might have just trained a newbie and they want to listen in on that first call. So they can silent monitor into a live call. Maybe they want to make sure that agent is asking the right questions and following all the steps that they learned in training. So they can do that with this tool. And if I were an end user using this tool, maybe I want to pause my recording and take that credit card information and then unpause it afterwards. All right, so I'm going to go back to the next steps. That is, here we go. So I've really just scratched the surface and given you a taste of what Teams can offer and what Synoptek has developed. But if you'd like to see more, you can schedule a one-on-one discovery call with us within 2 weeks, and you might be eligible for 2 things: a 6 months free Teams phone system package, and that'll give you your phone number, unlimited North American minutes, our Synoptek premium support, and the enhanced analytics that I've just shown you as well. And the second part of that is a joint half-day architectural and design session. And that's going to include Microsoft technical team as well as Synoptek professional services. That's just another example of how Microsoft and Synoptek are working hand in hand. And we'll be contacting you in the next few days to schedule that. But if you'd like to do it now, there is a link there as well. And we'll share that for you so you can schedule. All right, so now we'll open it up for some questions. If you have questions, you can type them into the question box. So let's see here. I have a question. Okay, let's see. What if my users want to have physical phones? I can answer that one. So there's a variety of Microsoft Teams certified phones. We like the Yealink ones, but there's other manufacturers as well. And then also Microsoft has developed a SIP gateway. So there are certain types of SIP phones that will work with Teams. I have a list if you want to compare it and be able to repurpose those phones that you already have with Teams. However, I should say that we do recommend going with headsets. That's typically the best approach, is to have everyone on headsets. But we do understand there are some people that really like that physical phone on their desk. So there are definitely options for that.
Yeah, you know, Sydney, that's a great point. We do have a wide breadth of phones. And of course, on the Microsoft website, you can see all those phones. You can do your comparisons and gain the knowledge behind that, as well as we have programs about how you can purchase phones, what to do with your old phones, things of that nature. But you make a great point. Greg and I have been in the phone business for a very, very long time. And I'm not going to embarrass Greg by saying how many years, but, phones on desks are just muscle memory for a lot of people, but there still are very many, we'll call them positions, if you will, that lead themselves to having a phone. So maybe an administrative assistant or an executive, so that they can have that line appearance, or possibly a front desk individual, just so that they can see and better manage those calls in conjunction with a headset, or in conjunction with maybe a software like an attendant console or something like that. So very excellent point. While we do want to push people to use the client, we think the client, is a great option, both mobile and desktop or PC. Those having that phone as a companion really enhances and goes back to what Tuan first started talking about, is the fact that there are going to need to be those phones, those blue phones, or the common area phone on a desk in a reception area or something like that. And the wonderful thing about it is Teams solves for all of those.
Awesome. Okay, next question. Can Synoptek help with the transition from an on-premise PBX system?
I
I'll
can
let
probably
Greg take that. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Sid. Yeah. So, great question. There's still a lot of large enterprise that are using legacy PBX. It's sort of that last remaining on-prem, haven't moved to the cloud market segment, and for a lot of reasons, mainly the complexity of that transition. So change from a legacy PBX, particularly if it's large, multi-site, is costly, time-consuming. You break the aggregation efficiencies of single PSTN. You separate your communication, but because you're in the old and trying to make your way to the new, because you can't do it all in once. We've got a fairly elegant approach where we can blend Teams and contact center if needed with the traditional PBX. Good examples: a customer of ours, Rendell, Cisco Call Manager, multi-site with a contact center. 5.9 user base went first. We then began to integrate Teams. They still had the call manager. So at one point in time, single PSTN aggregation, 3 different applications working cohesively together from a call flow perspective, and while still leveraging a single aggregation for the PSTN. So the long way to say yes, but in a very sort of efficient approach.
Yeah, that's a great point, Greg and Scott. If I may add more information, I came across several scenarios where partner brings the customer scenario, that specific vendor which is not listed on Microsoft site that we are already supporting. We also welcome those opportunity as well. If any customer has any other vendor whose communication devices you are using or communication systems you are using, and they are not qualified or they have not been approved to be hosted with Microsoft Teams, please do bring through the partner through this team, Synoptek team. We're happy to do a 3-way POC where we usually pull another one vendor with the partner, and we build the new best practices. With that, the new vendor gets added to the Microsoft supported list of devices as well. And we have done several times, not a single time. So please do bring it to us.
I'll also add, in those traditional PBX environments, there's also a lot of complexity often within the edge or the customer site. Another customer global contract within the United States, 30 warehouses, and each warehouse phones, SpectraLink, which is the mobile phones that you'd think warehouse workers using, elevator phones that they need to connect to, dense analog requirements within the site. So making all those applications, traditional phones work with Teams cohesively. We've pretty much got a use case and experience in every situation. Think of like that.
Okay. See if there are any other questions. I don't see any other questions. We can give everyone some time back in their day.
Right. Well, great job, Sydney, as usual. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Hey.
Bye.